Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keep on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Who is this? Zacch Pickens. Let's go ahead and get this party started, Bears fans. Walter Payton, it's the man. Find Cole Kmet wide open. Touchdown, Bears. Let me put it on again. Keep is on fire. I love it. I could probably beat him in the 40. Let's freaking go, Chicago Bears fans. Breaking news out of Chicago.
I think I can fit in as like a water boy for the Panthers or something. I'm not talking about get on the field,
Put it right behind me, so every time I'm on the podcast, like, you got Isaiah Fry's jersey? Hell yeah, I do. Let's go. You got on with the Bears organization. You got high up. Would I be like a water boy for you or something? What's going on? What role am I? Comment Bear down if you love Keek on the Mic and if you love the Chicago Bears. Who is this?
George S. House.
And as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.
What is going on, Chicago Bears fans? Good morning to every single one of you guys. We have breaking news out of Chicago. The Chicago Bears have traded for defensive tackle Chris Williams from the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 sixth-round pick, where the Chicago Bears also get a 2026 seventh-round pick in return. So the trade is a 2025 sixth-round pick to the Cleveland Browns, and the Chicago Bears get defensive tackle Chris Williams and a 2026 seventh-round pick. So let's go ahead and break down this move for the Chicago Bears. But first and foremost, if you are tuned in this early in the morning, right now it's 8:22 a.m. in California. I do appreciate every single one of you guys. If you guys are a new listener to Keek on the Mic, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and break down a little bit more about this trade, because Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears have definitely been busy over the last couple of days. Yesterday, they traded a sixth-round pick in order to land Darrell Taylor, an edge rusher from the Seattle Seahawks. Now they trade for a defensive tackle. This is a move that I think the Bears were kind of lingering. I know the other day I talked a little bit about it, for the simple fact that Zacch Pickens actually got hurt during training camp. So I think they just needed some reassurance in the defensive tackle position. And I feel like Chris Williams will definitely fit that mold. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Chris Williams. First and foremost, he is 26 years old. He stands at 6'2" and 302 pounds. He is a third-year player out of Wagner. He went undrafted in 2020, signed to the Colts practice squad back in 2020. And in Wagner, he was an absolute monster. He had, in 42 games and 27 starts at Wagner, he had 105 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. So he was an absolute force while playing at Wagner. But he did go undrafted in 2020 and then signed to the Colts practice squad. He did get some playing time with the Colts from 2021, from 2022. Nothing really special. He played in 13 games and only had 6 total tackles. But I think what the Bears are looking at is the potential of a young guy like Chris Williams. Once again, he is still only 26 years old, so there's still time to hopefully turn him into something special. This preseason with the Cleveland Browns, he has had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and I believe the Browns still had one more preseason game. He would no longer play in that preseason game because the Chicago Bears just traded for him, but he was having a really good preseason. But Bears fans, I don't think this is a move that's going to be like a blockbuster move for the Chicago Bears, but I do feel like it is a low risk, high reward move for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. I think this could be a really, really beneficial move for someone to come in and just be a solid depth piece, rotational piece for the Chicago Bears defensive line. When looking at the tape, he is a very relentless edge rusher with a high motor as well. There's just some clips where he's just relentlessly getting into the backfield. So I do like that quite a bit about Chris Williams. I think Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears definitely like their defensive tackles to be able to be pass rushers as well. I think he's going to be a good asset, not only inside, but especially at defensive end as well. I think it's a good move. Once again, I think it's a low risk, high reward type of move. Once again, when you look at his stats, they're not crazy, right? In 13 games played with the Colts, only had 6 total tackles, right? So it's not one of those moves where it's like, man, this is a blockbuster move for the Chicago Bears. But I think it's going to be useful. I think there's definitely some benefits. I think he can have the potential to be an elite defensive lineman. But at the same time, I think Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears understood that with the injuries they had on this defensive line with Zacch Pickens, right? And thinking about, okay, we have Javon Dexter, we have Andrew Billings, but after those guys, who is going to step up, right? So this is just more of a reassurance move on the defensive line. It's something that Ryan Poles needed to do. And I think Chris Williams will be a good fit. And especially when you're considering that we only gave up a 2025 sixth round pick. And I want to remind you guys, for anyone that out there thinking like, well, why are the Chicago Bears continuing to, throw away these picks? The Chicago Bears had 3 sixth round picks in the 2025 NFL draft. So obviously they traded one yesterday to get Darrell Taylor from the Seahawks, which I love that move. And then they traded a 6th round pick today in order to get Chris Williams. And you have to remember, these were both needs on the defensive line. The Chicago Bears needed an edge rusher. They took care of that. And the Chicago Bears needed a solid depth rotational guy at the defensive tackle position as well. And now they took care of that. So rather you love or hate the move, it's something that the Chicago Bears desperately needed, and Ryan Poles got the deal done. Once again, we got a 2020, we sent a 2025 6th round pick, and the Bears got defensive tackle Chris Williams, which I feel like he has the potential to be really good rotational guy on this Bears defensive line, and a 2026 7th round pick. So once again, Ryan Poles working his magic. I absolutely love this move. And maybe you look at a guy like this, maybe Chris Williams has the potential to be a starter. When I'm popping off the tape, once again, just relentless, high motor guy, just really good interior pass rusher. And that's what I think the Chicago Bears crave once again in their defensive tackle. They want that good interior pass rush. That's something that we've seen from Andrew Billings. That's something that we've seen from Javon Dexter, even during this preseason. So now you add another guy in Chris Williams that can either be a quality starter if a guy like Javon Dexter or Andrew Billings goes down, or a very key, interior pass rusher, maybe on 3rd downs as well. So to me, I love this move. Personally, I would possibly give it a B grade. It was a need on this football team, especially with the injury of Zacch Pickens. And I do like the fact that he is young as well. So Bears fans, how are you guys loving the move of Chris Williams? Are you guys just now joining the stream? The Chicago Bears made another move by trading for defensive tackle Chris Williams from the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 6th round pick, where they also got a 7th round pick in 2026 in return. So to me, good deal for the Chicago Bears. I think it's a really good value as well. Someone asked, I hope Pickens isn't hurt. Seriously hurt. Yeah, I hope he's not either, but I think this is just more of a reassurance move for the Chicago Bears, just in case Zacch Pickens' injury kind of lingers. But I think, once again, this is a good value guy for the Chicago Bears. So go ahead and drop your grade for this move of defensive tackle Chris Williams. Once again, Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears never sleep. Back-to-back moves on back-to-back days. And I feel like with both of these moves, our defensive line got extremely better with Darrell Taylor and now with defensive tackle Chris Williams. Once again, Chris Williams has been kind of a journeyman, but I think the fact that you're still looking at a 26-year-old young man, a guy that still has a lot of left in the tank, a guy that I think when you're looking at the defensive line already, you have Montez Sweat. Now you added a guy like Darrell Taylor. Of course, you still have Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings as well. I think he's just going to be the perfect complement to the Chicago Bears defensive line. We have grades coming in. We have Muck the General said a B grade. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, someone said, so far I see no highlights of Chris. If you go on X, there's like little video clips that pop up, and a couple of them I'm watching. I'm really impressed. Like, he has, to me, the makings to be an elite defensive tackle. Just really, really, really good pass rusher from the interior. I just think for him, I think it's more about possibly just finding more opportunities. And I think he will have a whole lot of opportunities here in Chicago. Thomas 290 says Eric Washington must have had some input into this decision. Yeah, absolutely. You look at a guy, I'm like Eric Washington. He is very good at coaching up and teaching up these young defensive tackles. So I think that was probably one of the influences of adding a guy like Chris Williams, right? Say, hey, maybe in the past he hasn't had, crazy stats, but I feel like he has the tools, he has the qualities to possibly get to the next level. So bring him here to Chicago and let me see what I can do to him. So if you want to trust anyone with defensive tackles, trust a guy like Eric Washington. Once again, we almost have 100 people in this live stream at 8:30 in the morning. I do appreciate you guys. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure first and foremost, you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. And make sure you share this podcast with every single Bears fan that you know. If you guys do not know who I am, my name is Keek on the Mic, and this is a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. And Ryan Poles and the Bears made a huge move this morning by trading a 6th-round pick, a 2025 6th-round pick, to the Cleveland Browns for defensive tackle Chris Williams. So we are just breaking down that move. Thomas 290 says claws up, Keek. Yeah, shout out to you, Thomas. If you guys have not seen the claws up Chicago Bears anthem, make sure you go on to my recent posted videos and check out that new Chicago Bears anthem. I really appreciate you. Also, shout out to my brother K Hooks as well. Deshaun says, any chance of the Bears beefing up the O-line depth before season starts? That's obviously still an option. I think once final cuts come about across the National Football League, that's definitely still an option. But I think the Bears may be kind of content with the offensive line, especially considering that with Nate Davis kind of getting healthier and him kind of being more in the fold with the starting offensive line. I think the Bears are going to be content with possibly how their offensive line looks. I know there's a lot of Bears fans, including myself, that there could still be some question marks, even with Nate Davis healthy, that you could still find a better right guard than Davis. But once again, you paid him all that money. So I think they're going to give him the most opportunities as possible until otherwise, right? So we'll see. We'll see. I hope they can make some move. But once again, the reassuring part about this is that Ryan Poles is always looking to improve this roster. Diego says, where can we see videos of this player? You could possibly just go on YouTube and type in Chris Williams highlight. A couple of clips that I saw were on YouTube and also on social media as well. Like I said, I don't really post highlights too much on these live streams. If I do a video, I will post highlights here and there. But before, it is more about me coming on here as fast as possible and just breaking down this player for you guys as well. But once again, I do appreciate you guys hopping on. Once again, if you guys are just now tuning in, thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys hit the like button for me. Make sure you hit the bell notification. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Once again, we are breaking down the Chicago Bears trade for defensive tackle Chris Williams from the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 6th-round pick, where the Bears got Chris Williams and a 2026 7th-round pick in return. Go ahead and give me a grade of this trade down below. The grade that I gave this trade was a B. I think it's a solid B grade. I think Chris Williams has great value. I think he's going to offer something to this defensive line. And for me, I think it was more about adding like a rotational guy, right? Just a rotational guy, especially with Zacch Pickens down. I think the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles just wanted to make sure they had some reinforcements on the defensive line. We have Raymond Brawley in the chat, says bear down to you as well, Raymond. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in with me this early in the morning. Ryan Poles makes moves at all hours of the night. He does not care if you're sleeping, if you're awake, if you're busy. Ryan Poles, when he wants to make a move and he feels like he has a good deal in place, Ryan Poles is going to make that move, right? So, hey, I appreciate our GM always trying to make the roster better. Always trying to make the roster better for sure. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes, Bears fans. So make sure you guys comment down below if you have any questions for me. If you have any more questions about defensive tackle Chris Williams, if you guys just want to pop on and say hi to me as well, I would definitely appreciate that as well. Once again, I do appreciate you guys tuning in with me. Someone said bear down FGB. Yeah, bear down FGB as always. How is everyone feeling about the season coming up? I think the season is slowly approaching. I'm super pumped about it. Just tell me how you guys are feeling about the new season coming up. I did want to have some breaking news for you guys as well. I'm not sure if you guys saw this morning, but just a real bummer for one of our young standouts. For one of our young standout rookies, the undrafted rookie in Ian Wheeler is headed to IR. He tore his ACL on Thursday against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that was according to Courtney Cronin and Chris Emma. The Bears will now place Ian Wheeler on the season-ending IR, and this just really guts me. This is a guy that was a fan favorite among Chicago Bears fans. I hope he has a speedy recovery. This is a guy that I felt like could at least made the practice squad for the Chicago Bears. But now, with the torn ACL, he will now have to recover. He definitely showed a lot of speed and power in his game, had a really good preseason as well, but wishing him a speedy recovery. Young Zell in the chat says, I like the depth y'all getting. That linebacker from Seattle, too. Yeah, I think with getting Darrell Taylor and now Chris Williams, you fill two massive needs. Once again, the Bears, most Bears fans would agree that the Bears desperately needed a edge rusher, right, alongside Montez Sweat. Darrell Taylor fits that mold. He's a former second-round pick. I think he is going to be the perfect fit for the Chicago Bears defensive line. You're still considering that you have a guy like Daniel Hardy and Austin Booker as well. So you have a lot of young guys that we can develop and just make this defensive line really, really nice. And of course, getting a guy like Chris Williams as well, a guy that can just be either, a quality starter when need be. If guys go down, like in this instance with Zacch Pickens down, or if Javon Dexter goes down, you would be able to trust a guy like Chris Williams to come in and be productive for this defensive line and hold it down. Someone says Poles is the man. Yeah, Ryan Poles is great, guys. The best GM I think that we've seen in a long time. Always looking to make the roster better. Yeah, really love Ryan Poles. Someone said apparently Chris has a great motor. Yeah, that's why I see on tape. That's why I've been telling you guys that, this can be a, low risk, high reward type of move. When you turn on the tape, I think it's more about those getting more opportunities. I think he will find those opportunities here in Chicago. He's still only 26 years old. So I like the fact that he's young, 6'2", 302 pounds. And once again, when you look back at his Wagner days, right? 42 games, 27 starts, 105 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. The dude has a great motor when you turn on the tape. Really good interior pass rusher. And I think that's going to benefit him here in Chicago, especially when you're playing alongside guys like Javon Dexter, now Darrell Taylor, and Montez Sweat. Diego Ramirez says, what do you think how the new QB going to do this year? You're asking, how is Caleb Williams going to do this year? I think Caleb Williams will be fine as long as he is comfortable and has command of the offense. I think, with the weapons that we have on the outside, with Keenan Allen, with DJ Moore, with Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, I think Caleb Williams will be fine. I think the big question to ask here is how will the offensive line hold up? As long as the offensive line continues to hold up, I think Caleb Williams will be fine. And I think he will have hopefully a offensive rookie of the year type of season. Thomas290 says there's a lot to indicate that this season looks promising. I'm surprised being that our depth seemed really good during the preseason that we went out and got 2 guys on defense. Yeah, I think for the most part, I think our depth was pretty good in most areas. Even when you're considering about the edge rusher position, there was a lot of Bears fans considering that we didn't really need Darrell Taylor. I think a lot of Bears fans, including myself, are high on Daniel Hardy. He had a really good preseason with 3.5 sacks, right? And then, of course, you had Austin Booker, the 5th round pick out of Kansas. He also had a really good camp in preseason with 2.5 sacks. So there's a lot of people out there saying, well, why can't we just let those 2 guys develop? And I think, either way, I think it would have been a smart move for Ryan Poles. But when you get a guy like Darrell Taylor, just for a 6th round pick, a guy that's had 21.5 sacks, right, in 3 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, I think he is going to be a perfect fit here in Chicago. So now you have Darrell Taylor, a young guy, still only 27 years old. Then you have Daniel Hardy and Austin Booker as very good depth rotational pieces for this Bears defensive line. So, it's all about having good starters and also good depth and rotational pieces as well. I think Ryan Poles has hit it on the money this offseason. Someone said, I am very excited for this season. Bear down, let's go. Yeah, me too, Tomcat 61832. Yeah, I'm really excited for the season. I have really high expectations for the Bears this season as well. Like I said, I think I can see 9 to 12 wins on the schedule for the Bears this year. Trevor Belmont, thank you so much for tuning in. He says, Poles ain't messing around. Yeah, he's not. Once again, Poles never sleeps. He's always looking to improve the Chicago Bears roster. Lord Jordan Javier says Taylor is there. Khalil alternate. I know he'd start opposite of Sweat. Yeah. So I think Darrell Taylor was brought here to start on the opposite side of Montez Sweat. Now you have to consider this. When you have a guy like Montez Sweat, he is going to be getting triple teamed, right? Double or triple teamed on every single play. You want to make sure the guy on the other side is a consistent threat to get to the quarterback. And a guy like Darrell Taylor is a consistent threat to get after the quarterback. In 3 seasons, it was like crazy. He had 21 and a half sacks, 90 quarterback pressures. The dude lives in the backfield. I think yesterday's move with Darrell Taylor was massive for the Chicago Bears defensive line. And you get a young guy as well. Of course, there's a lot of people saying, hey, let's go get Yannick, right? Let's go get Yannick back and bring him here. He already knows the defense, and that would make a lot of sense. He's a veteran. But I feel like at this point in time, the production last year for Yannick just wasn't there. So I think that's why Darrell Taylor makes more sense. He's younger, he's more productive, and quite frankly, he's going to be a lot cheaper than a guy like Yannick as well. So if you can get a guy that's cheaper and more productive, that's smart business by Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. Once again, if you guys just now tuning in, the Chicago Bears made a trade for defensive tackle Chris Williams from the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 6th round pick. And the Bears also got a 2026 7th round pick in return along with Chris Williams. We are just here hanging out for a little bit, talking about the move. I'm talking about just a new outlook of this Bears defensive line. Once again, defensive tackle, edge rushers was both needs for this Bears defense, and Ryan Poles addressed those needs. So definitely appreciate that. Mutt General says, I love how Ryan Poles listens to the people around him. Flu said he was concerned about the interior, and Poles responded. And that's just like the respect level. That's just the culture that's now set in Chicago. You know, if Flu goes to Ryan Poles and said, hey, man, I'm really concerned about the interior of this defensive line, right? I think, with Zacch Pickens' injury, we need to find some reassurance. What does Ryan Poles do? He puts his head down and he tries to find the best quality guy, and he goes out and lands a guy like Chris Williams. I think, once again, love this move. But I do love the respect aspect that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have for each other, right? So it's cool. I think this is just something new that Bears fans weren't used to for years here in Chicago, right? It was almost kind of like the head coach and the GM were never connected, but now we finally have a head coach in Matt Eberflus and a general manager, Ryan Poles, that are connected. They have a good relationship. And this even goes further to Kevin Warren as well. Everyone in positions of power with the Chicago Bears have a really good relationship, are well connected. I mean, I think it's going to benefit the Bears down the road. And I think that's why there's so much high expectations, because of the relationships that everyone has with each other. And they have built on paper a really good football team, Bears fans, a football team that we can be proud of for sure. Bears fans, if you guys are just now tuning in or are still tuning in with me, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you hit the bell notification. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. I am super excited for the season. We are going to start ramping this thing up. I'm going to start going live a whole lot more. So every time I go live, every time I post a video, I want to make sure you guys catch it here first, right here on the podcast. Once again, we're going to continue to talk a little bit more, interact with you guys. It's been a long time since I've been on a live stream like this. Once again, there's almost 100 people in the chat. So I do appreciate you guys sticking in with me on today's live stream right here on Keek on the Mic. If you have any questions for me about Chris Williams, if you have any questions about yesterday's move with Darrell Taylor, if you guys have any questions about anything Chicago Bears, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I really appreciate you guys, and I will do my best to get to every single question. I was going to ask you guys too, like, what is your guys' prediction for the Chicago Bears? You guys see them at being a playoff team? How many wins do you expect from this Chicago Bears football team? I think for me, the other day I saw a radio guy hop on and said, "Hey, I don't think this Bears team is going to get 5 wins." And I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, when I look at the schedule, I see way more than 5 wins, right? So uh, everyone has a right to their opinion, but I just see the Bears having more than 5 wins, personally. Black Propaganda Rap says, "Good live. I appreciate you for tuning in." Muck the General says, "Bringing in Taylor will also allow D-Walk to kick inside a lot more too." That is absolutely true. I think, that was the whole plan as well. Thanks for bringing that up because, DeMarcus Walker is definitely more effective when he's kicked off inside. And now having a guy like Chris Williams that can come in and allow D-Walk to go inside will be huge, bigger than we think for this Bears defensive line. Black Propaganda Rap says, "What's up with Chris Williams?" Once again, the Bears traded for Chris Williams. He's 26 years old, 6'2", 302 pounds. I think it's more of just like a reassurance piece with Zacch Pickens being hurt. But once again, good value. 2026 or 2025 6th-round pick trade to the Browns for defensive tackle Chris Williams, and the Bears get a 2026 7th-round pick in return. Andy G said, "Do you like Roman fantasy this season?" Yeah, I think there could be some possibilities, but the thing is, as a fantasy guy myself, I'm definitely going to draft Caleb Williams as my quarterback, and I'm going to probably try to get Keenan Allen or DJ Moore. And that's nothing against Rome Odunze. I think he will have a very solid rookie season, but I just think the safer bet right now would be towards adding guys like Keenan Allen or DJ Moore, or even guys like Cole Kmet in fantasy with Caleb Williams. Darius Coleman says, "Bears schedule is not built hard this year. Should go 11-6," and that's what I'm thinking, Darius, as well. This team can easily win 9 to 11 games with games against like the Panthers, the Patriots, the Washington Commanders, right? Even the Minnesota Vikings. I think they can sweep them. That's 5 wins right there, right? So to me, as long as Caleb Williams can take command of the offense, stay on schedule, if the defense can play how we expect them to play, should be a very good football team. Thomas says, "I appreciate your alertness in putting this post up. I see an enthusiastic team that went 4-0 in the preseason. That will be a 10-win team and make the playoffs." I appreciate you, Thomas, for tuning in. And that's the big thing. When you're watching the preseason, Thomas, it's one of those things that, like, man, this team is already playing hard for their coach. Most of the time during preseason, guys are kind of, jogging around, because it's like, okay, it's just preseason. But you can tell that from top to bottom, everyone wanted to be here all off season long, all training camp long. You could just see the alertness. You could see, the will to want to win. Guys playing hard for each other. Guys playing hard for Matt Eberflus as well. Darius Coleman says, "If they won 7 games last year, this year we should at least," yeah, and that's the obvious thinking. This Bears team is better from last year. They went 7-10 last year, could have easily won 10 games. So my thing is, like, why can't they at least win 9 games this season? That's my whole thinking as well. Squeegee says, "I woke up late. Any other moves other than Williams and DN?" Chris Williams played for the Bears about 10 years ago and ran a kickoff 100 yards against the Packers. Yeah, there was something that someone posted saying that, this is like the 3rd Chris Williams that we've had in Bears history or something like that. But no, Squeegee, these are the only 2 moves. Chris Williams and Darrell Taylor yesterday. The only other moves that we can report right now is that 3 players were placed on injury reserve. So that does count for the roster cut down. Rookie standout, undrafted rookie Ian Wheeler out of Howard towards ACL, so he's on the IR. The Zimba Webster with his groin, he was placed on the IR. And of course, defensive back Douglas Coleman as well, the one that suffered the really scary injury and the win over the Kansas City Chiefs, was also placed on the IR. So those are 3 players that are already on the IR, and that does count towards the cut down list for the Chicago Bears roster. We have Chicago Sports Talk Michael in the chat. Thank you so much. Make sure you go check him out as well. It says, "Looks like Poles is cooking something." Yeah, Ryan Poles, once again, Michael, he's always working to improve, to improve this roster, right? So Ryan Poles never sleeps, and I do appreciate that from him. Squeegee said Packers with throw up emoji. Yeah, you know the thing that sucks, Bears fans, and I don't say this a lot, but I do love them to death. But my brother-in-law happens to be a Packers fan. Once again, do love him to death, and we have good time every single season. The Green Bay Packers definitely own us right now, but I think that tide can definitely change with Caleb Williams. Manuel Garza says, I'm catching 1984 vibes what the Bears brass is doing, building up this defense. Go, Ryan, go. Yeah, and I think it's like the perfect compliment as well. I think he built up the defense and he's building up the offense. For years, what would piss me off about the Bears organization is that we would have a really good defense and a crappy offense. And then there would be like this random year where we'd have a really good offense, but then our defense would suck. And it's like, it would never balance out. And it seems like for the first time in a long time that Ryan Poles has built the roster from top to bottom, talking about starters and rotational guys, to where the offense and defense can be good at the same time. It's crazy how things work when you have a capable GM, right? Muck the Journal says we won 7 games last season, so I'm expecting at least a 3-game jump. And I think that's definitely a fair assessment. If the Bears can win 10 games this year, Bears fans will be pleased. That should be enough for a playoff berth. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the season, Bears fans. Really, really excited. Chicago Sports Talk Michael says 8 to 10 wins for this team. I have a feeling the offense may struggle, but later pick it up in the season. That's definitely possible. The offense struggling early on, but I think the fact is that when you're playing against a defense that's anticipated to be a top 10 unit in the NFL, and you get to see them every day in practice, and they're challenging Caleb Williams, they're challenging our receivers, our offensive line, that should get you battle tested as soon as week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. So I expect, Caleb Williams and the offense to hopefully come out swinging as soon as week 1 against the Titans. Just the fact, since they're playing against that good Chicago Bears defense every day in practice. Andy G says, I'm hoping 17-0. 17-0 would be absolutely insane. And obviously, that's very, very unlikely. Not impossible, but very unlikely. But if the Bears go 17-0, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Caleb Williams would win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He would win MVP. Chicago would build that young man a statue. It would be crazy. Muck the Journal says Chris Williams, the left tackle, was the softest player in Bears history. That's funny. And then he also said FGB for life. Yes, F Green Bay for life. I just love it. In my Claws Up anthem, if you guys actually watch the official video, there's a sweater that I have that says Green Bay sucks. And I totally forgot. I totally forgot to put it on. And I was like, damn, that would have made the video so much better. And I remember the videographer was like, hey, did you remember to bring your Green Bay sucks sweater? And I'm like, no, I forgot it at the house. And I was just so upset at myself, because I know that you Bears fans would have really appreciated that part of the video. Squeegee says, well, Keek, I guess not all cheeseheads are assholes. No, my brother-in-law is the furthest thing from an asshole. He is a good guy. Funny story about that is that one of the first game we went to was back in 2016. So my brother-in-law, myself, and my father went, and it was a December game against the Packers, so it was super cold. I remember walking up the stairs at Soldier Field, and Bears fans started throwing snowballs at my brother-in-law because he's wearing Packer stuff. And I told the Bears fans, I'm like, hey, relax. He's with me, right? And the Bears fans are like, F you too, if you're hanging out with someone like that. That's a Packers fan. That's a cheesehead. And I was like, man, that's when I finally realized that this rivalry runs really deep with the Packers and the Bears. Young Zell says, you dropped the ball, bro. Shake my head, laughing emoji. That's funny. That is funny. It's one of those things that when my wife and I started dating years ago, and I found out that he was a Packers fan, I'm like, oh my God. I was like, really? Out of all the teams, and come to find out, funny story is that the year that he became like an official Packers fan was the year that the Packers beat us in the NFC title game. So what I'm saying is, if the Bears would have beat the Packers and went on to win the Super Bowl, my brother-in-law could have easily been a Chicago Bears fan. So it's crazy. Sports Chicago Style says the power of polls compels you. Yeah, like I said, Ryan Poles has been a really good GM. I'm really happy that he is part of the Chicago Bears organization. Thomas290 says we just got to win against the Packers at least. But yeah, Bears, Bears fans, we at least have to split with those mofos this year. I'm just getting tired of being swept year in and year out against the Green Bay Packers. So hopefully this year, I know my dad was telling me the other day, he was like, "Hey son, we need to sweep these motherfuckers this year, like for real. Like I'm tired of losing to these guys, man." And it's like for years and years and years, I feel like we've had better rosters than the Green Bay Packers, but I feel like it always comes down to quarterback play. And I think finally we could possibly have the quarterback edge with Caleb Williams. Thomas290 says, well, Caleb Williams was a Rodgers fan. Yes, he was. And I know that Aaron Rodgers is also a big Caleb Williams fan as well. And it's funny because even Aaron Rodgers came out in an interview and he's like, for a first time in a long time, I hate to say it, but the Chicago Bears finally have a quarterback that can beat the Green Bay Packers. And, I was like, if Aaron Rodgers is saying that, Caleb Williams must be the real deal. So definitely looking forward to that. Bears fans, we have over 100 people in the chat. If you guys are still tuned in with me, I appreciate you guys. I love every single one of you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit the bell notification. And most importantly, make sure you hit that subscribe button to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Continue to interact with me. Show me some love in the comment section. And I will continue interacting with you guys and answering any of the questions that you guys may have. Yeah, I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'm actually in the process of creating revamping my garage into a Bears man cave. It's gonna be awesome, Bears fans. I can't wait to post like a little tour for you guys on YouTube. I know you guys are gonna love it. I got all my jerseys ready. I got a Gale Sayers, a Walter Payton, a Devin Hester, a Brian Urlacher jersey. This is gonna be a fully loaded Chicago Bears garage, with a TV and everything. So it's gonna be great. Young Zell asks, where do you think the Bears will finish in the division? That's a good question. That is a good question. I think for me personally, when I look at the division, I think the only team that really scares me, and surprisingly, it would be the Green Bay Packers. And the reason why I say Green Bay Packers is because the fact that we haven't found the recipe to beat them. And I know, Young Zell, you can agree with me with this because it's kind of like you being a Broncos fan. You guys haven't found the recipe to beat the Raiders. There's always that one team in your division where you just can't get over the hump, right? So I think for me, I think we can beat the Minnesota Vikings. I think we can beat the Detroit Lions. We were 4 minutes away last season from sweeping the Detroit Lions. It's just the fact, can we get over the Green Bay Packers? So personally, I can see the Bears going 4-2 in the division. Sweeping the Vikings. I think we can split with the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. So 4-2 may put you at second place in the division, just depending on what the other teams in your division do. So I think 4-2 would be a solid prediction for the Bears this season within the NFC North. I'm not sure if that would put us at first or second. But I think the Bears, as crazy as it sounds, I know right now the odds are saying Lions are going to get first, Packers are going to be second, Bears are going to be third, but I think the Bears can be second place in the division at least this season. Sophisticated Thought said Poles is jumping the line of players that probably will be getting cut so that he has first dibs before they are claimed. Yeah, and that's one of the things, with going back to Chris Williams real quick, this guy was possibly going to be cut anyways, but Ryan Poles didn't want to risk with being ninth on the waiver wire, right? So there's probably other teams that really liked Chris Williams, but he didn't want to take the risk of missing out on him. So he's thinking, okay, what's a 6th round pick at this point? So I like the aggressiveness from Ryan Poles here. Thomas290 says, nice. Bears man cave, claws up in the background. That's the goal, right? Obviously, I have this claws up music anthem going around right now. Once again, I do appreciate every single one of you guys for all the love and support that you guys continue to show the channel and continue to show the song as well. But yeah, I may have to do something with the claws up in the man cave as well. Chicago South says Bay Area rep, and I appreciate it. That's cool, man. I obviously I'm in California. I'm in Sacramento, California, so we're not too far. Not too far. Someone says I have more concern for the O line. They did not look good in the preseason. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think with the starting offensive line, it's just more about reps. You have to remember that there was a lot of shuffling going on this offseason and during the preseason with the offensive line. Over the last couple of weeks, guys were finally starting to get healthy. Talking about Nate Davis, Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright. So it's all about just playing with each other and getting those reps with each other. So I'm not expecting the offensive line to look good right away, but I think the more reps they get and the more comfortable they get playing with each other, I think the better that they will get. I think the benefit for the Bears offensive line this year is having a quarterback like Caleb Williams, right? A guy that is very elusive within the pocket, has very good pocket feel and awareness when the pressure is coming. I think it's easy to block for a guy like Caleb Williams. So I think that will definitely help them be a better unit this year because of the quarterback play. Someone says, hey, how good is this guy we picked up from the Browns? Once again, we can go back a little bit. Kind of been bouncing around from team to team, kind of been like a journeyman, not too much. He was undrafted in 2020 by the Colts. He's a third-year guy. He played in 13 games with the Colts in 2021 and 2022. Only had 6 total tackles. I don't think he had very much opportunities with the Colts. He then signed a future reserve deal with the Cleveland Browns. And this preseason definitely showed a lot of promise with 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. I think this is going to be a really solid rotational guy for the Bears. A guy that can come in, especially with Zacch Pickens being injured right now. A guy that can be a low risk, high reward type of move for Ryan Poles and the Bears. And for a 6th round pick, I think it's a good value. Squeezy says, I think when Caleb masters the offense, our offense will be a good group. Yeah, I definitely too. I definitely agree with that, Squeegee. I think it's going to be all about Caleb Williams. It's all about the quarterback all the time. I think the quarterback play can make everyone better, not just the offensive line, right? But everyone around them. Muck the General says, I love the direction we're headed, but sometimes I can't help but think about all the years we wasted making the wrong moves. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of the things as an organization, I think you have to learn. And for the most part, what drove me nuts about the Chicago Bears organization was the fact that they were stuck in the 1960s. It was always all about having a really good defense and just, not too much about the quarterback, not too much about the offense. Of course, we've had really good offenses over the years from time to time, but it's always been all about the defense. That's because the Chicago Bears have always been stuck in the 1960s. So it finally seems that, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and the Bears organization are finally with the times. They understand that you need a good quarterback and a strong passing attack to win in the National Football League. Yes, you also need a good defense as well. Don't get me wrong. You need the defense to be good as well. But it's a passing league now. So you need to be able to pass football. You need to be able to score a lot of points in today's league. Once again, Bears fans, if you guys are still tuned in with me, there's still close to 100 people in the chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, sharing this content with every single Bears fan that you know. And if you are new to the channel here on Geek on the Mic, make sure you also hit that subscribe button as well. Thomas290 says, Caleb has made Scott look good in some of the tight ends. Will be interesting to see who makes the tight end room. Yeah, I think for me, my prediction, I am going to actually post my 53-man final roster prediction today. So make sure you guys go check that out just in a couple hours as well. I think I'm going to post it at like 10 a.m. So make sure you guys go check that video out. I think my final prediction for the tight end room is going to be Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, and Mercedes Lewis. I think those are just the 3 guys. There's also some other guys and Carlson and Sweeney and Brendan Bates as well. Young guys that looked really good in camp and preseason games as well. But I think those guys will make the practice squad. Squeegee says, I'm really pleased with the coaching so far, other than special teams can step it up. Yeah, I think Richard Hightower is a very really, really good special teams coach. I think those things will be cleaned up, like the muff punts, all that stuff. And you have to understand there's also a new kickoff rule that was just now implemented, and it's gonna be the first season it was implemented. So, it's almost like a learning curve this preseason to learn that new kickoff rule. They will get better. Once again, I do trust Richard Hightower. Someone said Tynan Carlson better make the team. Dude has some soft hands and tiptoes for those sideline catches. Yeah, there's definitely a good chance that he can make the team. It's just one of those things that who is he going to beat out? The only person I can see him beating out is Marcedes Lewis because he is, the older guy. But when you look at Marcedes Lewis, I think they value his leadership and they value his blocking as well. But I don't think Carlson's going to beat out Cole Kmet or Gerald Everett. The only person that he can probably beat out to make this roster is Lewis. Someone said that Ian Wheeler injury hurts. Yeah, make sure you wish him a speedy recovery down below in the comment section. Yeah, that definitely gutted me this morning when I heard that news. He definitely was a standout, a fan favorite, a lot of speed and power in his game. But wishing him nothing but the best. And I do really feel like he had a chance to make this roster at least on the practice squad for the Bears. Someone said keeping 4 tight ends. Yeah, keeping 4 tight ends would be a possibility. But then you think about, okay, who are you going to cut from another position group in order to make that possible to keep those 4 tight ends? So it's all a give and take business when you're making these final cuts, coming up with your 53-man roster. So it's definitely possible. This is a good question. Someone said, Keek, how do you feel about Bayless at running back? I like it. I think, he definitely showed a lot of position versatility because Bayless Jones Jr. was on his way to getting cut. But I think the Bears finally have a formula to use Bayless Jones Jr. the right way. Bayless Jones Jr. can be used how the 49ers used Deebo Samuel, right? And he definitely showed his work as a running back in the preseason. So I like him. He looked explosive. And that's one of the big things. Once the ball is in Bayless Jones Jr.'s hands, he is an explosive playmaker for the Chicago Bears. So I like it. I hope he makes the team. I think he can definitely be a Swiss Army knife, someone that can be used on this Bears offense in certain situations. I know that we already have a loaded running back room, but I think he definitely should make the roster. Muk the General says, do you see us keeping Kari Blass in game? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Once again, it's a loaded running back room right now. I know on my final 53-man projection, I have us keeping Kari Blass in game. I think it's always useful to have a fullback, especially when to go in I formation as well. So I think once again I believe they extended him to a nice little deal a couple years ago as well. So I don't know. I think that's going to be one of the surprisers though. That's definitely something that we can keep a close eye on. It wouldn't shock me if they cut him though. So. Once again, Bears fans, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream here. Make sure you guys keep a close eye for future live streams. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Once again, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share this Bears content with every single Bears fan that you know. And make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. I love every single one of you guys for tuning in this morning. Once again, the Bears did trade for defensive tackle Chris Williams from the Cleveland Browns for a 25 6th round pick, and they also got a 2026 7th round pick in return. Absolutely love the move, but I will catch you guys next time for all new live stream right here on Keek on the Mic, and make sure you guys tune in to my final 53-man roster prediction for the Chicago Bears at 10 a.m. today. So appreciate every single one of you guys, and bear down to you guys. Have a good weekend.